गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। वणकम, जय हिंद एंड प्रणाम। Today evening, we're going to talk about rising tensions and roiling seas and turmoil to our west in this CASA webinar. Over the past 3 to 4 months, the world is boiling, and the world is boiling like we've never, seen it before. If you take a global view of the whole story, step back, you see the conflicts in Ukraine, West Asia is in conflict. You look at Africa, the dotted circle is also known as the coup zone or the Sahel portion of the Africa. It's recorded some innumerable number of coups over the past 1 year. Look further east, South China Sea tensions between Philippines and China, and the problems between China and Taiwan are a flashpoint. Just next to us, east and west of us, the AFPAC region has its own problems, and Myanmar is burning. And in the middle of all this, India is rising and sitting quietly, seemingly snugly, but it is not so. West Asia is in real fire. So let's look at West Asia, which is the subject of our discussion today. The Israel versus Hamas versus Hezbollah and Syria. That compact is on fire from 7th of October. And when that happened, the world didn't know what hit us. Then it spread down to the US versus Houthi spat over the Red Sea and the shipping lanes there. That has put a lot of things at risk, and I'll just highlight it a minute later. Of course, last but not the least, Iran has taken off on Iraq, Syria, and Pakistan with missile attacks and a tit for tat attack between Pakistan and Iran. Notwithstanding all this, Iran backed militias have been creating problems all over, and there's a huge thought that Iran holds a lot of cards in this crisis. With all this happening, India can't keep quiet. We have our own problems. Our shipping lanes are at risk. Our trade lanes are at risk. The IMEC, which was the centerpiece of G20, is also at risk, and so is our relations with many more. And not forgetting the fact that China is also around in this area, and Russia too. More importantly, you look at it, your primary global maritime checkpoints are also at risk. Why? The Red Sea Suez Canal Compact, which is in the center, we've seen because of the Houthi action, sea lanes being disrupted. Go further to the west, the Panama Canal, where there's very less water these days, has already started a inefficient but alternate land bridge for want of anything else to do. This puts all our supply chains at risk. So not only is there action going around in West Asia, but our global supply chains are at risk, and much more. I don't want to take this argument further. I'd like our revered panelists to come out with their views. I request each of you to put forth your views in about 5 to 6 minutes on what you feel is the evolving situation in West Asia and in the North Arabian, Red Sea, and the Gulf. I'll start with General Asthana. All yours. Please take over.
Thank you, General Shankar, and thank you, General Murthy, sir. Good evening, members of CASA, eminent co-panelists, and friends. The informed audience of the kind which we are addressing, I don't think there is any need to get into as to what happened. I think that everybody knows. But let me analyze and put things in my perspective in the strategic context. As we speak, the whole world is deciphering as to what ICJ has said. whether it is in favor of Israel or it is against Israel, or um whether it is genocide or it is not genocide. Now, I've been hearing this. What ICJ has said is very clear. They have not said that stop the war. They have also not said that it is genocide. But all the actions which Israel is taking, they have said stop ABCD. That is in four paras, and those four actions, which includes basically uh, stop killing and stop harming them and things like that, and stop mental harm, dislocation, etc., etc. It's no different than what Nam said a little while earlier, because Nam said that Israeli actions is illegal. So, if you see in a broad landscape, on 7th of October, what happened? That time, I think the whole world opinion was in favor of Israel. The UN voting pattern also showed that. And slowly, as the casualties started mounting in Gaza, the world opinion and the voting pattern in UNSC and everywhere else has started shifting. And today, apparently, there is a major shift against Israel in most of the world, and most of the people feel that this Red Sea confrontation is an offshoot, because if the first one gets the result, it is interlinked. If the first one gets the result, the second one should not take much problem. So that's one part of it. Now, in short, I just want to highlight what was the aim and what did they achieve. As far as Hamas is concerned, their aim was very clear. They thought that the Palestinian cause has gone out of the window. So they planned, after Al-Aqsa incident, they planned for almost 2 years. They gained fair amount of intelligence. Their whole lot of guys were working from Gaza. They were coming through these checkpoints into Israel and carried fair amount of information. So therefore they knew what is happening, and their aim was get as many hostages as possible, cause some amount of brutality, at least a show of brutality, so that the Israel is provoked beyond proportion and gets lured to commit certain actions which sees Israel in poor light and wins them sympathy of the Arab world. And with that, perhaps they thought that they will come out as a much stronger force, because they got elected in 2005 and thereafter no election. So it was not giving them that kind of legitimacy as Palestinian authorities were getting. That's number one. And number two, their perhaps popularity was also sinking. Now, what they have achieved? The Palestinian cause has come in the forefront. There is no doubt about it. The Arab world, which was getting closer to Israel, has halted to some extent, in a manner that everyone is putting the condition that unless ceasefire happens, nothing else moves, whether it is IMAC or it is Saudi Arabian cooperation with Israel or on nuclear matters, etc., etc. So, therefore, that is paused. What has not happened, what they thought was, the Arab world has certainly not gone with Hamas. They are there for Palestinian cause, but they are certainly not blindly following Hamas. So that's one thing which they could not achieve. Now let's look at Israel. Netanyahu's declared aim and strategy was, I must finish Hamas completely. Now, finish Hamas completely is not a practical aim. So the moment if your aim is wrong, or is impractical or ambitious, then your strategy also goes wrong, and then thereafter your outcome also follows the same line. His second aim was that Hamas capability should be degraded to an extent that they never pose a problem or a threat to Israel. To a great extent, that has been achieved. The third was release of hostages. Now, if you see all the hostages which have been released so far, they have been released through negotiations. And the kind of strategy which he was adopting, in a manner that he started off with pulverization of Gaza, which indicated that the aim and strategy which was declared, perhaps that was not the aim. So the factors which played for his undeclared aim was that firstly he was in a very weak wickets politically, so he wanted to now if the war stops, obviously Netanyahu goes. It's as simple as that. The second issue was that the right wing of Israel still feels that it is one state solution, and they had the hidden desire of one state solution. So making Gaza unlivable was part of the plan. So therefore, the strategy adopted was more towards making Gaza unlivable and to shift out the Gaza Palestinian population. That was as against releasing Hamas. And why I say so, the logic is very simple. They finished Gaza war in 6 days in 1967. They took 19 days to finish Yom Kippur war. It's more than 100 days. There is not one single Israeli operation like the one which we saw in NTV, where they have been released. They have been able to release one hostage by military operation. So therefore, the fact that has not happened, that means none of the operation was actually aimed at release of hostages, or they were finding it difficult. Secondly, if you are looking at finishing Hamas, Hamas is an ideology, we all know. They are embedded in the population. Their leaders are outside. Now, what happened? Nobody has sanctioned Qatar. Nobody has sanctioned countries where the people who were supporting Hamas is there. Nobody has sanctioned Lebanon. None of that has happened. So, finishing Hamas was a bogey. The whole issue was that Palestinians should move out from there. Now that moving out was not possible. That is where the Arab countries have not played up. And Hamas was hoping, or Israel was hoping, that if I put too much of pressure on the Palestinian population, maybe that some of them move out. And then the door is opened. But Arab countries have a concern in a manner that if they move out, the Palestinian cause is out of the window. Nobody is in a position to absorb 2.3 million people. And thirdly, as far as Egypt is concerned, if they take some refugees, obviously Hamas will also enter in the garb of refugees. And once they start firing rockets from Egypt, then Israel, they will get in direct confrontation with Israel. So that is not working out. So now let's look back as to what they have achieved. The hostages have not been released, certainly not by their military action. Capability of Hamas has reduced to some extent, yes. Has Hamas finished? If USA could not finish Taliban in 20 years, there is no way that Israel will be able to finish Hamas. Let's be quite clear about it. It's impractical. The third thing, there is a strategist who has written very nice books, Seen Mac Fate. Now he has said that why West is losing all the wars. And one of the reasons he has pointed out is that despite having the best of armory, the best of weapons, the best of technology, etc., the problem is they have got wrong strategy. They have not understood that the people are the center of gravity. Even in Afghanistan, they did not get into the areas, into the hinterland, and that's why they never had the hold on ground. And they all are very shy of buying casualties. And therefore, what they do is that destroy and pulverize everything. Even if you have to face one opposition or one guy with the arm, and there are 100 guys around him who are civilians, just bombard the whole thing, and so that you don't buy a casualty. Now, with this, you certainly don't buy peace. So today, I don't think any one of us would be convinced that Israel is more peaceful, and the way the conflict is panning out, there is no way that that area will be more peaceful at any point of time. As far as US is concerned, initially there is no doubt that they supported Israel. Subsequently, they are themselves finding into a fair amount of problem in a manner that their areas of engagement, their flashpoints of engagements are increasing every day, which includes Red Sea, which also includes Iraq and other areas. So therefore, And also this two-state solution issue. They want two-state solution, and more so the problem is that with the election in USA, they are also in a bind because both sides, the Biden administration cannot afford to lose the support of either side, either the Jews as well as the Muslim population. Because when Muslim population says we will not vote for you, then also he is a little nervous. And conversely, as far as Jews are concerned, then also it is little nervous. So therefore, they also have not been able to perhaps identify as to which line they should follow.
Yeah.
Professional advice was, yeah, I will.
Yeah. Go.
My last point. Professional advice was very well given by this fellow, their defense secretary, who said that you might win tactical battles, but strategically you cannot win in the manner in which you are going about it. Now that is perhaps the reality, and I will take on more during the question answer
Yeah.
session. I'll stop here.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, General Asthana. You have hit the core of the problem, that is between Hamas and Israel, right? And the sum total of what you said, if I may put it, is this: on both sides, there was some disarray between the political and the military aim. Was the political aim matched with the military aim and vice versa? Are the results commensurate with what they thought out? And as till such time both these are not in consonance with each other, there's always going to be a problem. Getting back to General Astana, the question I have for you is: you started with the core of the problem, Israel Hamas, right? You outlined, okay, both have achieved their aim partially and both have failed, in achieving the aim, or they've gone astray. Where do you see this going? Do you think there's a solution to it, or do you have to stall at containment? And if it is containment, what are the outlines of this containment? And what do you think India's role in this would be?
Okay, before I answer your question, I've been listening very patiently
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
number of points made. Let me clarify first 2 points before I answer your question. One was a point made on Iran. Let's be very clear. Iran doesn't have to get involved directly, so long its job is being done successfully by its proxies. So let's be quite clear on that. The second issue was regarding terrorism. There is no doubt that Houthis must be punished, Hamas must be punished. There is no doubt about it. But the way it has to be done, that is where there is a question mark. And why I say question mark, reference was made as to how we dealt with ISIS. There were no 10,000 children killed when we dealt with ISIS. So let's be quite clear that there was a strategy in place when ISIS was being dealt with. In case of Israel-Hamas war, the strategy and the thought process has been overtaken by the revenge phenomena and the phenomena of embarrassment and getting over the embarrassment mixed up with the political ambition. So therefore, the strategy doesn't go right. So therefore, there is a problem there. So nobody says that terrorism, one should live with terrorism. No, there is no question of that. But now take the case of India. A mention was again made. We have never used aircraft and artillery to deal with the terrorists. And this is because we understand that people are the center of gravity. Without people, you can't do it. And I referred to some author. He also said the same thing. In Afghanistan, Americans forgot that people are of center of gravity. Without people, you will not be able to do it. Similarly, in Gaza, Israelis have forgotten that people are center of gravity. Without people, even if they win, they will not be able to control Gaza. Let's be quite clear on that. Secondly, when we talk of their aim, there is no reason. If 7th October was a trigger, where is the justification of killing 259 people in Western Gaza, in West Bank? It just doesn't make sense. So therefore, the question was that the indirect aim is to enforce one state solution, and that is where perhaps they are at odds with many countries, and we will see more of it. Now coming on to the question, sir, which you mentioned, how do we see do we see it going? Now, For that, the first part is where we are. As far as Hamas is concerned, they have to do nothing. Basically, they are looking at their force protection, force survival. That's it, and somehow manage that. Therefore, what they are trying is that delay the release of hostages as far as possible as they can help it. As far as Israelis are concerned, uh, they are stuck in a situation because what they have said, they have now realized that they will have to go back to the negotiations again to get further release of hostages, which is becoming a big pressure. So therefore, two formulas have been given out by the two sides, and there are differences between the two formulas. Formula of Israel is that you release all the hostages, we will let your leaders go out from Gaza, and we will stop. We will give you a 2 month, shall I say, ceasefire. That's what Israel is proposing. As far as Hamas is concerned, what they are saying that uh, we should the Israeli forces must move out from Israel. As far as US is concerned, they are saying that the border should not change, and therefore the Israelis' idea of having a buffer zone, which is should be inside Gaza, that is perhaps looking ambitious because not very many takers are looking at it. Now, what Israel is looking at the model, and what in future what is perhaps likely to happen is they, despite all the opposition in the world, they made sure that they kept encroaching into West Bank. They want to do a similar thing in Gaza. They want to have the security. They already have the airspace, the maritime space, and the entry points of Gaza with them. They want to have more forces inside in terms of the buffer zone, because buffer zone otherwise is basically a psychological point. The range of rockets is beyond buffer zone. So if the rockets have to be fired, they can be fired from the other side of buffer zone as well. So what is happening is that they are looking at the security being controlled by them. Now there is going to be a tussle. I think the uh, the churning of Gaza would certainly happen at some point, maybe a month, 2 months, or whatever. Once they have churned in the entire Gaza Strip, uh, they would perhaps try and leave some security people there. US also has, I think, given some kind of hint that there have been arrangements elsewhere in the world where a security is with somebody and still the governance is with somebody else. So apparently, the West, that is Israel and US, are perhaps looking at a little more security control over Gaza, and people being allowed to live the way they are. And but this is certainly not going to be a safer Israel. It's going to remain in this situation, as one of the speakers mentioned. This two-state solution has got a lot of inherent problems. You can't divide Jerusalem. Everybody wants Jerusalem and full Jerusalem. So obviously that two-state solution didn't work so far. So there is a problem there. So apparently this is what I visualize is going to happen. For Israel, let's be very clear. Nothing else matters other than United States. And that is why, that is one major reason when we are talking of the Red Sea corridor and when we are talking of Operation Prosperity Garden. Lot many people are asking why their allies are not backing US. I mean, it's a point. If everybody is feeling, yes, it's a maritime traffic, it's a global maritime traffic, everyone is suffering. The Saudi Arabia is also suffering, India is also suffering, everybody is suffering. But then the problem is that most of the countries, including Saudi Arabia and others, what they are saying is that you stop, you have a ceasefire the other side, this threat will go off. So apparently the justification is not is not that convincing, and more so with the kind of leadership which USA has shown. Not very many people are trying to put their combat resources under US. That's another major reason. So this is how the things are playing up. We will have to wait and see a little more before things go. Certainly, the Hamas is going to get weakened tremendously. They will not be a power to reckon with for some time. But my problem is, which I visualize, that generational situation which is coming up is that all these people who have been killed in Gaza, their children will constitute the next generation of Hamas, and you just
Exactly.
can't. And that is where the problem is going to come up. Back
Yeah,
to you.
I think you outlined the whole story very well with the complexities which are likely to come up in this whole formulation.